Okay, I'm not sure if anyone is able to hear me. I'm not getting any response from anyone, but I can hear myself on another device. So let's begin. Okay, hello everyone and good afternoon. Happy Sunday to everyone in Jamaica, the Caribbean, the United States, Canada, UK, and anywhere abroad. So, welcome to our very first session to TDBU, and that stands for Teacher Dave's Bilingual Hub. As you can see on my screen currently, that is the name of this teaching platform. And as you can also see, it is brand Jamaica. It is Jamaican owned. I am Jamaican. I was born and raised here. I'm still here. And of course, this is dedicated to teaching you the Spanish language, specifically to English speakers. But this platform is also dedicated to teaching Spanish persons or speakers of the Spanish language English. Okay? So, how do we know the differences in terms of when am I teaching English to Spanish speakers and when am I teaching Spanish to English speakers, right? So how do we know? I'll say that again. How do we know the difference between me having a live that is dedicated to teach English to Spanish speakers and whenever I'm teaching Spanish to English speakers? The difference is that if you see a video that's being promoted as Spanish mode or modo español, then that means I am dedicating that specific live to English speakers. It means that I'm teaching Spanish to English speakers. While when it comes to the English side of life, if I'm teaching English to an Hispanic audience, then you will see me advertise modo inglés, or English mode. Now, even though each series is dedicated to a specific group, all groups are able to enter both live sessions. So whether it's English that I'm teaching or if it's Spanish that I'm teaching, if you are a Hispanic person or you are an English speaking person, then it doesn't matter. You can come to both and you can go ahead to interact with the lesson. Now, for now, we will be hosting the Spanish mode sessions. So this is where I will be teaching Spanish to English speakers, right? That's what we will be teaching most of the time. Okay, just saw something like a comment, I'm not sure. Okay, so that's what I'll be teaching and hosting on TikTok Live most of the time. It's just to teach you Spanish. Now, let's begin. And just before we do so, let me introduce myself. My name is Teacher Dave, as I said before. I am a Jamaican born and raised here in Jamaica, went to school here, lived here, everything. Well, still living here, right? But if you're wondering about the accent, it's because I teach English to Hispanics. And the English that I teach is both the British standard of English, which is what we learn here in Jamaica, and I also teach the American standard of English to Hispanic speakers. So that's the reason why I have a slang. Some people call it twang. Some people call it twang, but people please honorary twang me twang. I've been teaching this language for a very long time, maybe about 5 years or so, so it scratched me, okay? So let's begin. All right, so if you can see the presentation on my screen, this is Teacher Dave's Bilingual Hub, I am your maestro. Soy tu maestro, Dave. Maestro in Spanish means teacher or professor or leader, depending, right? And of course, as I said, this live is the Spanish mode, or in Spanish, More Español. This is dedicated to teach English speakers, anyone out there who speaks English, the Spanish language. Of course, we're going to be a bit basic when it comes to the Spanish language. So there are different topics that I'm about to show you that you have to know, right? You have to be aware of the rules and regulations of a language. And yes, a language is not a language unless it has rules and regulations. Even Patois, that we speak right here in Jamaica, has rules and regulations. And it's not that we created those rules and regulations. It's the culture that shaped how we spoke or how we speak, right? So every language has rules and regulations, not necessarily that you have to follow, but it's just how things are, okay? So let's go ahead to begin. As I said before, for those who are just coming in, this live session is dedicated to teaching you English speakers the Spanish language. If I'm teaching English to Hispanic speakers, the name of that live will be English mode, or in Spanish, Mora Inglés, right? So I'm not sure if I'm missing out anything in my introductions, but let's begin. So our topic for today, or the overall topic, will be the alphabet, vowels, and consonants. En español, los alfabetos, vocales y consonantes. ¿Sí? One moment, please. Just a second. Okay, so every few minutes, I will go ahead to look in the comment section. I definitely know that some persons may want to interact. And yes, this is dedicated to language learning interactions. But for now, you will interact by typing in the chat section, the comment section, and I'll be able to respond, okay? So let's begin. Okay, one moment. Okay, so our topics for today will be the alphabet. En español, alfabeto. Please repeat, everyone. El alfabeto. El alfabeto. Right? So that's how we say the alphabet in Spanish. A moment. Okay, there we go. El alfabeto. And let me zoom in. El alfabeto. Próximo, tenemos acentos y pronunciaciones. Acentos y pronunciaciones, o los acentos. Los acentos y pronunciaciones. Accents and pronunciations. Acentos y pronunciaciones. Right? Repeat, everybody. Acentos y pronunciaciones. So, everyone in English knows that this symbol over here actually means the and sign, right? It's the and sign. But in Spanish, some persons don't necessarily use the and sign. They use the letter Y. By the way, the letter Y in Spanish has two names, letra I o letra Y. So we're about to go into the first portion of the lesson, as said before, which is the alphabet. So I'll go a bit more in detail about the letters and the letter Y. Okay? So next, we have vowels and consonants. En español, los vocales y consonantes. Repite, por favor. Repeat, please. Los vocales y consonantes. So normally the letter V in Spanish is pronounced like a B. B as in boy. Los vocales y consonantes. However, I'd like to debate that if you are a native speaker of Spanish, somehow you're able to give a combination of a V sound, V as in Victor, and a B sound together, juntos. The word together means juntos, right? Also, a while ago when I was moving from one topic to the next, I said próximo tenemos. Próximo means next. ¿Sí? O luego, L-U-E-G-O. Luego means then. Or we can say entonces. But most of the time, depending on the situation or context, we would say próximo, next. We could also say a la otra, to the other. The letter A or the letter A in Spanish is not only a letter, but it can also be used as a word that means to, meaning to something. So, a la otra, to the other. Most persons or most basic speakers of Spanish knows that the word la or el means the or he, and that's another context, right? There's also a spelling. So, a la otra, to the other, then, luego, o entonces, próximo, next. Tenemos, we have. Tenemos, we have. Okay, one moment. Cordeucunta. Hola. Veo tu mensaje. I see your message. Thank you. Or comment. Okay, so let's continue. So articles in Spanish, artículos en español, and in terms of this, we'll obviously go into an explanation of what an article is. And I'm not talking about a magazine, I'm not talking about something that you read. An article refers to, no, when we get to that point, we'll teach that point, okay? And then we will have some simple meeting and greeting. Meeting and greeting en español, conocerse y saludarse. Okay, let's pause here. When we're learning a language and we're speaking about European languages or Germanic languages, Latin languages, once it's a European language, what you need to know is the basic alphabet of each language. Then you need to know the rules and regulations of the accents of the different letters of the alphabet, as well as the pronunciation. But some people say, why do you have accents different from pronunciation? Or pronunciation, sorry. There are two different things. Accents has to do with the way how a particular letter, groups of letters or words sounds. And there are two types of accents. You have the way how a country or a group of people sound when they speak, And then you have the actual accent, which speaks about the apostrophe or the two dots that you'll find above letters. Those are symbols above letters that indicates how a particular word or a specific letter should sound. So that's the difference. Pronunciations is the overall pronunciations of letters that have accents and letters that don't have accents. By the way, if you see letters that have the two dots above, it's like a sideway colon. That's what you call an umlaut. Umlaut. So an umlaut is actually found in the German language, but you will also find it in the Spanish language if you're speaking about a particular place, or I should say the name of a place, a person, or thing. So it's really nouns. If I'm correct, someone can correct me. It's really nouns that we use the German umlauts, right? Other from that, the main accents that Spanish uses is the accent, el acento, con apostrofía, the apostrophe symbol, el simbólico de la apostrofía es arriba de las letras. Esto es el principal. So the accent with the apostrophe above the letters A, E, I, O, U, which I'm about to go in shortly, those are the main accents that we use in Spanish. And at last, we have the revision, right? In Spanish, revisión. So let's continue. El alfabeto. El alfabeto. Repite, por favor, todos. El alfabeto. Okay. By the way, normally this class will be about 2 hours. I don't see myself or this group going over 2 hours in the session. However, because this is our first session on live and I don't want to overwhelm you, the session will be no more than 2 hours or more or less an hour. Because even 2 hours can be a lot. There's a lot of rules and regulations to consider, to understand. And just like anything that you're learning, the basics of anything that you're learning will always be the heaviest. Because everything that's more advanced will be based on the building blocks of what you're learning or of what you have learned in the past, right? So the basics of anything will always be the longest. Okay? So let's continue. Good. So en esta sección, in this section, let's go again. Let's see if I can type that. One moment, please. Okay, good. Yes. En esta sección tenemos los alfabetos o el alfabeto. Un momento, clase, por favor. En inglés, in this section, we have the alphabet. Okay, let us make that a bit smaller so everyone can see. Or let me change this into black. That should be a bit better. Ok, en esta sección tenemos los alfabetos o abecedario. Abecedario is another word to say the Spanish alphabet. But, ambos son correctos. Ambos son correctos. Both are correct. Ambos. A-M-B-O-S. Ambos. Ambos son, la palabra son, the word son, es la palabra are. So son, S-O-N, is the word are in English. Both are correct. Ambos son correctos. ¿Vale? Okay. ¿Vale? So the word okay in Spanish is vale. V-A-L-E. Okay? Let's continue. Okay, let me just take a look in the comments. Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Let's continue. So, as said before, we have the Spanish alphabet, or abecedario. And now, as you can see me zooming in, each letter has 3 categories. So, the black letter is the overall letter in Spanish and English, más o menos, more or less. Then in green, you have a basic pronunciation. A basic pronunciation of the letter A, right? In black, which is below the green letter, is a further explanation of how it should sound. For example, we have the main letter, letter A. It's pronounced as A, and it's giving a word. It's giving a word that gives you an idea how it's pronounced. Ah. In this case, the letter is A-H. Letras A-H. A-H, A. So that is the pronunciation of the letter A. Next, we have B. Right? B in Spanish is pronounced B. B-E. But in English, if we saw that, we would say B. But that's not the pronunciation. So we go further to say B-E-H, and that would be B. So the pronunciation is B. A, B. Next, we have the letter C. The letter C, similar in English, has an S sound. But of course, C in English also has a K sound. Cristiano Ronaldo. Pero en este caso, tenemos ambas pronunciaciones en español, similar en inglés. So what did I just say? I just said that just like in English, the letter C has 2 pronunciations. It has a S sound, and it also has a K sound. For example, cat, C-A-T. However, in terms of the name of the letter and the basic pronunciation in Spanish, we say se. C-E, se. But, the actual word that gives you an idea of how it's pronounced is se. Right? Se. A, B, se. Now, this is another letter. It's been debated that the CH letter is not an official letter in Spanish, but rather a pronunciation of the letter C, or a variation of the letter C, right? Now, CH or che is also in English, but in English we don't call it a letter. It's just a particular pronunciation that we have. So CH in Spanish has the same pronunciation that we have in English. Che. For example, church. CH. CH. Church. Church, by the way, in Spanish is iglesia. Iglesia. Church. Iglesia. And let's quickly write that down. One moment. Church. Iglesia. But funny enough, the Greeks also call the church ecclesia or ecclesia. Interesting, right? So, church in Espanol, iglesia. I'm missing an L, sorry about that. Church in the Greek, ecclesia. By the way, this is a matter of opinion for something that I'm about to say. So, if you learn Latin, the Latin language, the language that the Romans used to speak, right? If you learn Latin, you're able to learn Spanish, French, Portuguese, and Italian very easily, because these languages are called Latin languages or Romance languages. Latin languages or Romance languages. But why is it called a Romance language? Two reasons. The informal reason is because these are known as the European languages of love. That's their opinion. I don't know about that. They call it the languages of love, Latin languages, Romance languages. So that's informal. The formal reason why they're called the Romance languages is because they are Roman. If the Latin language came from the Romans, then the French language is a Roman language. Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, Roman languages, right? Okay, good. So let's continue. So next, we would have the letter D on the right. So D is pronounced de. The pronunciation of the letter and the name of the letter in Spanish is de. And as you can see, similar to the letter C, we have D-E-H, de. A, B, C, che, de. Okay? All right, so let's take a minute. For those who are just coming in, my name is Teacher Dave, and I am an English and Spanish teacher. This platform is Brand Jamaica, right? So this is being hosted live right here in the island of Jamaica, and it's dedicated to teaching English speakers the Spanish language. And whenever I have that, it's called Spanish Mode. That's the name of the live TikTok series. If it is that I'm teaching English to an Hispanic group, then it's called English Mode, or in Spanish, Modo Inglés. ¿Vale? Okay? So right now, as you can see, obviously, I'm teaching Spanish to English speakers. Good? All right, let's go. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so next we have the letter E. Right? We have the letter E. And E is pronounced as E. As you can see, EH, letra E. Letra means letter. Letra. 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 Letter E, letra E. Next we have the letter F, which is F. Right? Letter F, F. Then we have the letter G, that is called and pronounced as he. However, he, the letter he, also has a hard G sound. Talk about the real G. He is pronounced as ge, también, also, because it has a G sound. And I'm about to give an explanation about the letter G in another topic shortly, okay? So next, okay, let's just revise a bit. A, B, C, Che, D, E, F, He. So remember, even though the letter G has two pronunciations, when you're referring to the letter, you say he. At no point will you say ge, because in Spanish there is a rule that concerns using the letter G with different vowels. What are the vowels? A, E, I, O, U, or in Spanish, A, E, I, O, U. Okay? Let's continue. So revision: A, B, C, Che, D, E, F, He. Okay? Next we have the letter H. Let's pause. Is anyone feeling overwhelmed? Is anyone feeling overwhelmed? Am I going too much? Can someone tell me? Too much in depth? Too much information? Is it interesting? Is it not? Let me know in the comments, okay? Oh boy. All right. Next we have the letter H, H. So it's pronounced A. So you would say H, but it's actually H. Now guess what? I'm going to tell you a secret. Most Jamaicans know this already, but with how we pronounce, let me just go ahead to, right. So it's interesting because the pronunciation of the letter is H. Ya tú sabes, you already know. But when it comes to a Jamaican, it wouldn't be that difficult to pronounce it correctly, because in Jamaican patois, we don't pronounce the letter H. So words that begin with a vowel A, E, I, or U, we tend to put on the letter H on everything. But if the letter or if the word has the letter H, we treat that letter H as if it's silent. So automatically, if a Jamaican says, pronounce that letter in Spanish, they're going to say H because they don't normally pronounce words with the letter H. This is a basic rule of Patois, by the way, Jamaican Patois. If I'm lying, if I'm not correct, please go in the comment section, but I am a native speaker of Jamaican Patois. It's my first language, and then English, okay? So let's get back to it. Okay, good. Okay, let's put this over here just for a minute. Okay, so the pronunciation of the letter H is H, and what this is saying is that in Spanish, we don't ever pronounce the letter H. So it's incorrect to say Hache. No, it's H. Claro? Clear? Then next we have the letter I. I is pronounced as E. Anita Thing. Hi, Anita. Thanks for joining. This is a Spanish Live. So we're teaching Spanish to English speakers. Basic Spanish, and then every day we'll be getting more and more advanced. Let me not say every day. I meant to say every Sunday between the hours of 4 and 6 p.m. Please, if you're going to quote me, quote the correct thing. Okay, good. So we have the letter I. I is pronounced as E. Right? Then we have the letter J. Now, sometimes I tend to pronounce the letter J as Jota because that's the Portuguese or Brazilian pronunciation. But the Spanish pronunciation of the letter is Jota. So let's pause. You just learned that the letter H does not have an H sound. The H is silent, so it's pronounced H. But yet, the letter J is pronounced as an H. It's pronounced as Jota. Jota. H, E, Jota. Okay, let's continue. Let's go. Próximo. Next. Próximo. We have the letter K. K is pronounced as Ka. As you can see, K-A, Ka. K-A-H, the literal pronunciation, Ka. Then we have the letter L. L is pronounced as L. Okay? L. But then we have what we call a double L or doble L. Doble L. Doble L. You can call it double L, but the pronunciation of the double L is E-Y-E. Eye. Let me not say E-Y-E because in English that's I, right? Los ojos, eyes. So it's pronounced E-Ye. So you could say E-H-Y-E-H or E-Y-E-H. E-Ye. Yeah? So let's continue. So remember the difference. Ele, eye. Then we have the letter M. Now the letter M is pronounced as eme. Eme. Luego, luego, L-U-E-G-O, luego, Then, in English, we have the letter N. Luego, tenemos la otra palabra, N. The word palabra means word. Palabra in Spanish, word English. Luego, tenemos means we have. Tenemos la otra palabra o la otra letra. I'm saying palabra and it's not a word. Oh my God. Dios mío. Okay. Luego tenemos la otra letra because it's a letter. It's not a word. So, luego tenemos la otra letra N. Next, or then, we have the other letter N. In Spanish, N. So let's revise just for a bit. H, you can repeat in the background if you can. H, I, J, K, L. L. How do you pronounce this one? Eye. So the two L's has a Y sound. Eye. Next, N. Luego, then, N. Después, after, N-Y. So similar to the letter double L, double L, or eye. This has a different pronunciation. Once you have the symbol or the accent over the N, the accent is called tilde. ¿Vale? Okay? ¿Verdad? Right? Enye. So the pronunciation is N-ye. Yeah? So Enye. Let's continue. Then we have the letter O. 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 Okay. Just one moment, everyone. Okay, we have complete. Okay, that's interesting. If anyone can hear me, TikTok was saying to me that they saw an activity. So that's a bit strange. Okay, so if anyone couldn't hear me before, I am back. I'm not sure what was going on, but I'm sure most of you could hear me. TikTok was just saying to me they're taking a 5-minute break for me to somehow connect back because there wasn't any activity, but we're back. All right, good. So next we have the letter O. And as you can see, the pronunciation is O. Then we have P. P-E. The pronunciation of P is P. Luego tenemos Q. The letter Q es la letra Q. Then we have the letter R, and we have two forms. Just like the double L, we have a double R. Now, the pronunciation of these two letters, even among Hispanics, can be debatable because the pronunciation of the single R, la R singular, is R, R. And the double R, double R, the pronunciation is R. So this is the pronunciation that a lot of English speakers tend to have problems with. It's not that you can't pronounce the letter, but you just have to practice. So the pronunciation is R, R. R o L, R. Now, some persons who just heard me pronounce that letter is wondering, why is it that the single R sounds like an L? So here's the deal. When it comes to Spanish, you have different regions and different countries that pronounce their letters differently. So in the Caribbean, we sometimes pronounce the letter R as an L to differentiate from the double R, which is R. Now, someone would say, why would you do that? Because other Hispanic countries tends not to differentiate between R and R. So some Hispanic groups pronounce the single R as a double R, is what I'm saying. So some people would say R lightly to get the single R sound, while others would say R. While in Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, or Boricua, and Cuba, they would say L. And even within a country, as we all know, a country tends to have a standard language or a standard accent, but when you go into the subdivision of the different parishes, the different states, the different cities, each section and subdivision has its own pronunciation of words and letters. So when I say that in Puerto Rico they pronounce the single R as an L, it does not necessarily mean that it's everybody in Puerto Rico that pronounces the letter R as an L. It depends on the city, it depends on the class, it depends on the family that you're from, it depends on several different factors, how you're grown, different things, right? So, let me say it again, but in a short way. The single R is pronounced as R, R, or in some countries or groups, L. If it's the double R, double R, then we would say R, R, R. ¿Sí? Okay, continuemos. Continuemos. Let's continue. By the way, whenever you hear the suffix hemos, it means let us do something. Hemos, imos. Let's do something. For example, vamos. Let's go. Continuemos. Let's continue. Juguemos or jugamos. Let's play. Right? So, what is a suffix? The suffix is the last portion or the last pronunciation of a word. Okay? The prefix is the opposite. The prefix is the first part of a word that we pronounce. Right? Let's go. Q, R, R, S. ¿Qué pasa, ese? What's up, bro? So, ese, pronounced e-se. So this is how you would differentiate with the letter C, because just now I said that the letter C is pronounced as se, right? But the letter S is ese, ese. That differentiates between the letter S and the C. Okay, próximo. Next, we have the letter T. And it's interesting. The letter T is te. But also what we call tea in English, the drink, el beber, the drink, they in Spanish call té. Yo amo té. I love tea. Right? Té. The difference is T in Spanish is spelled T-E with an accent above, the apostrophe, above the te. So this is even before I get into that portion of the lesson with pronunciations. If you have any vowels with the accent above, A, E, I, O, U, what it does is to indicate that it has a longer pronunciation, a longer sound. So te is what we call T. Te is T-E with the accent above. But the name of the letter is te. So if it doesn't have the accent above, then the sound of the letter will be very short. So the accent above makes it long, but the vowel A, E, I, or U without the accent above makes it short. Te. That's the letter. Te. That's the drink that we call tea in English. Let's move on. Okay, next we have the letter U. Letra U. Letra U. U. See? It has a double O sound. Okay, my video is getting in the way. Okay, it has a double O sound. So that's letra U. By the way, everybody, let's talk about gender for a moment. So whenever we're speaking about the letters in Spanish, the letters are referred to as feminine. So we do not say el A, el B, el C. El means he, it's masculine. El also means the. So you have a feminine way to say the, and you have a masculine way to say the. But when we're referring to los abecedarios or alfabetos, the alphabet in Spanish, we use the feminine form. So we say la A, la B, la C, la Ch, la D, la F, E, F, la G, la H, la I, y las otras, and the others. Y las otras, and the others. Good? Okay, let's take a look. Okay, let me go ahead to shout out to all the Jamaicans that are here. People, all the people from Jamaica, big up on yourself. Thanks for following me. Thanks for supporting me on this live, and I hope to see you soon on other Sundays. We will be here every Sunday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's dedicated to teaching Spanish to English speakers. You're a Jamaican, you do speak English, but yes, I know you also speak Patois. This is how I actually sound on a day-to-day basis. This is my real accent. So if it scared you, people from the US, people from the Canada, UK, even though you live with us, you're used to it. So you shouldn't be frightened anyway. So back to class, everyone, and thank you. So greetings massive from all over the world. Oh, I go again. Greetings massive to all, or greetings massive all over the world. I don't know. I don't remember where it go. So back to class. All right, let's go. Okay, so let us try to practice. So I'm going to speak the letters, and then you would go ahead to repeat. A, B, C, Ch, D, E, F, H, H, I, J, K, L, Y. So double L has a Y sound. Eye, M, más claro, much clearer. M, N, próximo. N, N, O, P, Q, R, 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 O, L, R. So this one never changes, but this either has an L sound or an R sound. S, T, U, U, V, W. La letra tiene 3 pronunciaciones o 4 pronunciaciones más o menos en español. So the letter W has about 3 or 4 names, or 3 or 4 names, because it only has one pronunciation. So you can say W. What do you think W means? It means double V. When two V's come together, it makes a W. So it's double V, doble V, right? Pero, o también, la letra W tienes la pronunciación W. So I just said, however, sin embargo, however, W also has another name. You can say W. When 2 U's come together, it makes a W. When 2 V's come together, it makes a W. So it's the same. So you can say W, W, V double. Like V double, V double, V double, W, W, V double. Okay? So next we have the letter X, which is pronounced like a kiss. Mwah. This is to the ladies. Mwah. So, X. X. E-Q-U-I-S. That's the basic pronunciation. X. That's how you say X. But X is a bit debatable. It's debatable because some persons in Spanish pronounce it like a CH. Sometimes it has a Z sound or a X sound, but most of the time it's the same thing. It's the same pronunciation that we have in English for X, right? Then we have Y. Now, it's called Y because this is purposely done to differentiate between the Y and the letter I. And I'll tell you why. The reason why is because the letter Y is pronounced as E. But the letter I is also pronounced as E. So, since the letter I is a bit primary in its pronunciation, in its name, it would not make sense to call the letter Y E. But it does have that pronunciation. So the name of the letter is Y-E-G. I-G-R-I-E-G-A. Ega. Y. Then the final letter, which is one of my favorite letters historically, is the letter Z. Now, Z has 2 pronunciations. The letter Z has seta. Seta. So it's pronounced S-E-T-A. Seta. The letter is also pronounced as an S. However, there are rules concerning the letter Z. So if you're from the Americas, whether it's North, Central, the Caribbean, or South America, or specifically, if you're from Latin America, you will automatically pronounce the letter as zeta. Sin embargo, however, sin embargo, la letra Z tiene una diferente pronunciación en España. The letter Z has a different pronunciation in Spain. In Spain, it mimics the Greek letter theta, which is why people say that persons who are from Spain tends to have a lisp. But that's not necessarily the case. They just pronounce the letter Z that way. So, have you ever heard about the Greek letters? Alpha, beta, zeta, theta. That's pronounced T-H-E-T-A, theta. So if you're born and raised in Spain, you're going to pronounce the letter Z as theta. But if you're born in Latin America, you're going to pronounce the letter as zeta. So I think that just opened up a can of worms, because you're now understanding, or probably asking yourself, hold on, there's a difference between Spanish spoken in Europe, in Spain, different from Spanish that is spoken in Latin America? Yes. So overall, if I have this correct, in Spain they speak vosotros. Vosotros o voceo. Vosotros o voceo. It's a language rule or a way of speech that they have in Spain. While in let's say Latin America, we speak teteo. We speak teteo o nosotros. That's nos o teteo. That's what we speak in Latin America for most countries. Places like Argentina, they tend to speak voceo, vosotros, see? And because they are closer to other countries, other Hispanic countries that speak otherwise, they, depending on who they're speaking with, they tend to switch. However, they mainly speak the Spanish that is from Spain. They do not speak the Latin American Spanish, even though they are located in Latin America. Right? It's just like Cayman. Cayman is more British, right? They're more British than anyone else in the Caribbean, especially if they come from a particular class within the Cayman Islands, right? Cayman. By the way, I can't hide from the history, okay? It's a part of what I do. So let's talk about Cayman. So the Cayman Islands, the word Cayman comes from the Spanish word caimán. Caimán means an alligator or crocodile, right? So literally, the name of their island is Crocodile Island or Alligator Island, right? All right, let's continue. So you just learned about the fact that we have different types of Spanish. It's the same way that we have different types of English. American English and British English, or English spoken in the UK, are two different things. Two different spelling structures, two different vernacular, two different vocabulary, but they're the same in meaning and the words are similar, but because of culture, because of historical experiences, these are factors that changes how you speak, right? It's the reason why Germanic languages like German, Dutch, Swedish, all these Germanic languages, they are known as cold or harsh language because the environment that they're from, that they're located in, is harsh. At least from the inception of the location, because it's very cold, so they become very harsh. In warmer climates, like the Latin peninsulas, like Italy, Spain, all these places, they're from warmer climates, so it's going to be more romantic. African languages, romantic, right? Because they're from warmer climates. It's more relaxed. Okay, let's continue. Ok. Próximo, tenemos los acentos y pronunciaciones. Los acentos y pronunciaciones, ¿vale? Okay, just a moment. Let me go ahead to see if there's any messages. Okay, by the way, everyone, if for any reason you were sending messages and I'm not able to see them, I'm partially aware that you're sending and I'm not seeing them because it seems to be an issue between TikTok and TikTok Live Studio. So TikTok, if you can hear this message, please go ahead to fix the issue. I'm not able to see any of my viewers' comments. So please go ahead to fix that. That's not good. Okay, good. So let me try. Okay, just a moment, everyone. Okay, claro, más claro. Claro, claro. Okay, un momento, clase, por favor. Okay, vamos. Let's go. All right, so in this section, we have the different accents and pronunciations in Spanish, en español, los acentos y pronunciaciones en español. ¿Vale? Okay. So Spanish accents, also known as diacritics. Diacritics. In Spanish, diacríticos. Diacritics are written marks that indicate pronunciation, specifically syllable stress. Based on my explanation before, you understand that once you see a letter with a symbol above, it's saying to you or indicating that it has a specific stress or way of pronouncing the letter. Okay, my English. Wow. All right, good. So they are used when a word stress doesn't follow the standard rules. So that speaks for itself. So it's saying that if you see a letter that has a particular accent above, it doesn't follow the letter of origin. It's going to be something different. So there are three types of accents or standard rules or stresses. This is the tilde, The tilde is the wobbly or curved line that you see above the letter N. It's a curved symbol over the letter N, and this type of N is the only letter that has this type of symbol above. So the letter N is pronounced as Enye. Enye. Next, we have the diaresis or diaresis. Once you have the letters AE, it's pronounced as A. So it's really diaresis, diaresis. These type of letters that has the dots above, they are also known as umlaut. Umlaut is the German name for those type of letters. Umlaut. But this is not a German class, this is a Spanish class. But I just have to let you know, because we don't use umlauts or diareses in Spanish all that much. We only use them if we're speaking about someone, something, or a place that came from another location. If we're speaking about them, then speak about them correctly. Then we have the acute accent, which is the main one that we use in Spanish. The acute accent is the apostrophe that we place above any of the vowel letters, A, E, I, O, U. So it's the most common and appears above vowels. Good to go. Next, we have the Spanish accents. Spanish accents help distinguish between words with the same spelling but different in meanings, and they indicate which syllable to stress when speaking. Okay? So now we're going to speak about the vowels and consonants, but just before I wanted to speak about an example, right? An example of what we just read. One moment, everyone. Let me go ahead to add something here. Okay, good. So okay, good. So we have the letters the and he. We just said earlier that when we're pronouncing words or letters that have the acute accent above, we give it a longer pronunciation. So to say the in Spanish, we would say el. So we have to make the pronunciation short, muy corto. And if we're saying he, we're speaking to someone who's masculine, then we would say el. El. So there's an emphasis. So the letters that have the acute accent above says to you that you should pronounce the letter or word with emphasis. El. We just read previously that Spanish accents help distinguish words with the same spelling but different meanings. Todos entienden, ¿verdad? What I just said. Todos ¿Entienden? Everybody, do you understand? ¿Todos entienden? Do you understand, everybody? Also, the word verdad or verdad means right. ¿Verdad? Right. So, I was saying that the is el, short pronunciation. He in Spanish is el, different emphasis or more emphasis and a longer pronunciation to the E. Okay? So that's the difference. Just a moment, everybody. Vale. Miss Stacy, veo tu mensaje. I see your message. Thank you. Gracias por todo. Thank you for everything. Por cierto, Stacy, si tú puedes, if you can, si tú puedes, where are you from? ¿De dónde eres? No hay problema. Sí. Okay. Soy de Jamaica. Jamaica. Let me see your. Okay, I just followed you. Please go ahead to follow me back. Yes, you fell in the trap. No, it's not a trap. Please go ahead to follow me. Guys, at the end of the day, I don't have 1,000 followers just yet. There are more features that TikTok gives us. The more followers we have, once it's over 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, there's also other benefits and features that we have in terms of the amount of likes. So every time I'm here, you can go ahead to like the live, like the videos that I have on my profile, and you can also help to share the live. It also helps to actually register. Now, in the videos that anyone posts on TikTok, there's normally this red symbol that says live event. So if it's a pre-scheduled event, it's going to show on their videos. So if you click on mine, for example, maybe you won't see it now because we're in the scheduled live event. But when I schedule for next week Sunday, you will recognize that any video that you choose will have the live event symbol. You click on that and then you register. So registering also signifies to TikTok's algorithm that persons are interested in the live. They want to see you, they want to hear you, they want to benefit from what you have to say. So thanks again, everybody. Okay, you've requested to follow. Okay, one sec. Requested to follow this private account. Okay. Theater. Okay. Yes, I'm teaching Spanish. Sí, enseño español. So today is the very first live in terms of the series that I'm teaching. This is the series is called Spanish Mode. Spanish Mode. In Spanish, that will be Moro Español. Moro Español. So I've dedicated that name to the series because I will have other series. I will have series where I do reactions, reaction to American music, specifically for Hispanics. And I also have another series which is dedicated to teach English to Spanish speakers. But most of the time when I host my live, it will be dedicated to teaching Spanish to English speakers. Okay? All right, so I can see Miss Stacy, the TA. Okay, entiendes. You understand. Thank you. Okay, by the way, can anyone see my text? I just made a comment in the comment section. Can anyone see? Okay, gracias por todo. Thanks for everything, Stacy. Okay, let's continue. Okay, let me go ahead just to give another introduction. Okay, so for those like Stacy or others who may be just joining the live, my name is Teacher Dave. I'm the founder, owner, and CEO of TDBU, and that stands for Teacher Dave's Bilingual Hub. This is a platform that's dedicated to cultural exchange between Hispanics, English, and Africans, and of course everybody, but mainly those three. This is also dedicated to language learning, learning the Spanish language and learning the English language. And it's also dedicated to reactions to videos, to music videos, specifically from Hispanic Americans from the United States, right? One of the reaction videos that you will see me do is a review of one of my favorite bands called Cypress Hill. Cypress Hill is a Mexican US American band that does hip hop and Hispanic music. Basically, it's hip hop, but in Spanish, right? So that's not necessarily for the Jamaican market, that's for the US market, for those who are from the Latin community. So if you're into that, if you're interested, you could pass through. But most of my live sessions will be based on Spanish teaching. I'm actually trying to get Jamaicans, people from the Caribbean who speak English to be more so developed in the language so that they can experience what culture mixing really is, right? And there are other things up my sleeve as to why I want to do that. Good intentions. So let's see where things go. And let's continue. Let's go. Okay, good. So to revise this section, we're learning that the Spanish accent will change the meaning of a word from one primary meaning to another. Good? Okay, let's go. Los vocales y consonantes. Okay, so in Spanish, there are 5 vowel sounds. A, E, I, O, U. In English, A, E, I, O, U. These letters are noted to be vowels, right? Consonants are all the other letters in the alphabet. Vowels are produced with an open airflow. Ah, that's an open airflow. A, that's also an open airflow. E, O, U. Vowels are produced with an open airflow, while consonants involve some obstruction of airflow. So what are consonants? Consonants are all other letters of the alphabet that are not vowels. You only have 5 letters that are vowels, A, E, I, O, U. But consonants are B, C, D, F, G, the rest straight to Z, as long as they don't have A, E, I, O, U. So if you think about it, let's look at the English word book. Book. So the letter B is a consonant and the letter K is also a consonant. The K becomes the obstruction because it's stopping the pronunciation of the vowel O. If there was no K, it would be boo. Or maybe bo, right? So consonants plays a role of obstructive. It obstructs the airflow of vowels. Yo hablo un poco español. No hay problema. No hay problema. That's why you're here, right? Thank you, Stacy. No hay problema. No problem. Okay, so I just noticed that it's not showing as wide. One moment, please. Okay, beautiful. Beautiful. Let me bring this down just a bit smaller. I have this over here. Okay, good. So, yes, so the purpose of consonants is to obstruct the airflow, or I guess I could say to be a stop of the vowel pronunciations, right? Let's continue. So the vowels that we have is A, E, I, O, U, also pronounced as A, E, I, O, U. A is pronounced like the letter A in father. So if you remove the letter F, you will get other. If you remove THER, you will get A. So the pronunciation of the letter is A. Then you have E. The E is pronounced like the letter A in late. Late. If you take off the L, you have 8. If you take off TE, you have A. Not A, E. A, E. I is pronounced like the letter or the letters EE in the word see. Take off the letter S or remove the letter S and you'll have E. A, E, E, the letter I. So even though in English you call the letter EE, that pronunciation is referred to the letter I in Spanish. So A, E, I, O, U. The letter O is pronounced like the O in go. U, the letter U, es la letra U. The letter U in Spanish is pronounced like the double O, U, in moon. Remove the M, you have un. Remove the N at the end of the word, you'll have U. A, E, I, O, U. Then below we have los vocales con acentos. La palabra vocales en inglés es vowels. La palabra con en inglés es with. La palabra acentos en inglés, accents. Vowels with accents. So, let's see if there's any difference between the pronunciation. So we have A, E, I, O, U. And below we have the short form because it doesn't have an accent. So we would say A, E, I, O, U. Let's go. Okay, consonants. Consonants are all the other letters in the Spanish alphabet, such as B, C, D, G, H, J, K, L, M, N, Nye, Nye, that's the one with the cursive line above the N, P, Q, R, S, T, V, W, X, Y, Z. So let's pronounce them. B, C, D, F, G, H, J. J is pronounced as an H. J, K, L, M, N, N, P, Q, R, S, T, V, W, X, Y, Z en América Latina o Z con letras TH en España, en Europa, europea. ¿Sí? So I just said the letter Z in Latin America and the Caribbean is pronounced as an S, Z. In Spain, that's found in Europe, they pronounce their Z as Theta, Theta. ¿Claro? ¿Claro con todo? Okay, clear with everything or with everybody? Each consonant has its own unique sound, and some can be represented by multiple letters or letter combinations. Pronunciation can vary slightly across different Spanish-speaking regions, and I already gave examples of that. Someone in Puerto Rico speaks different from someone in the Dominican Republic in comparison to also people from Mexico. Mexicans sound different from people in Argentina, and there are historical reasons for that. Argentina is what I would like to call a mini Europe. They are comprised of majority Spanish people from Spain, Italians, and Germans, but mostly Spanish persons, then I guess you could say Italian and Portuguese persons, and then Germans. So they are European at its core, right? But another reason for that, as it relates to Mexico, is because of two things. They had a bit of a dark history where 90% of the African population were reduced. This was systematically done when Argentina was fighting for independence from Spain. So what they did was to put the Africans at the front line, and most of them died. Whoever lived would hopefully become an actual Argentine citizen. So this is why it is said that Argentina is 97% white, right? Especially seeing that the purpose of their colony was to actually create a new European colony, an actual white colony. The second reason is because most of the indigenous population assimilated in the European admixture and the European culture. Let's face it, someone who is a Native American who is mixing with someone who's white will look more European than someone who is black or African mixed with someone who's white. They're going to look more. May not be such the case all the time, but some of the phenotypes are very similar. Although it can be debated that a lot of the Native Americans also have African features. So it's debatable. But some of what I'm saying I do believe to be true. So as said before, it's not necessarily fact. It's historically documented and it's an opinion. Okay. Mexico. Part of the reason why Mexico will be different from someone who's from Argentina is because they have nearly 50 to 80% of their indigenous population still living to this day. And they're mixed with the men from Spain, the conquistadors or conquistadores, who came to Mexico and colonized them. It is said that the bloodlines of Mexico are 50% white and 50% Native American, But I have somewhat found out that there are more indigenous groups than what we think in terms of the population, the demographics, the numbers. Same thing with Dominican Republic. Dominican Republic is split down the middle between whites, blacks, and native Tainos, right? So that's why we have differences. So depending on who's alive will determine the form of the language, the accent of the language, how they speak everything. So just like with Mexico, because they still have their Aztec population, their Mexica population, and other groups, this is the reason why they have a lot of Aztec or Mexican words in their Spanish vernacular in Mexico. This is the reason why. It's the same reason why some words, some English words in Jamaica will be pronounced or even totally different from someone who is from Trinidad and Tobago, St. Kitts and Nevis, Dominica. It's going to be different, okay? So let's continue, and that was the historical portion, all right? So if you heard, if you understood, si tú entiendes, escribe en el chat, por favor. So if you understand, if you like that, please let me know in the comments. Okay, so each consonant has its own unique sound, and some can be represented by multiple letters or combinations. Pronunciation can vary slightly across different Spanish-speaking regions. It's possible to come from Spain, and you're in Mexico, and in Mexico they're speaking Spanish, and you as the real Spaniard can't understand anything, depending on the community that you are. Okay. Pronunciation rule, regla de pronunciación. Okay, so this section is dedicated to the letter G, and you will understand why. So, depending on the circumstance, we have different sounds or pronunciation for the letter G in Spanish. So, the letter G has two sounds. It has a hard G. Talk about the real G. It has a hard G, and it also has a soft G. However, sin embargo, however, if it is that we're speaking about the letter G, the name of the letter G in Spanish is he, which is the soft sound of the G. It sounds like an H, he. It's called he, right? However, depending on the type of word that we're using or speaking about, depending on the phrase or word, it will have a particular pronunciation. Now, the hard G, let's zoom in. The hard G sound like English go, get. So what this is saying, what this is actually saying, let me minimize this. One moment, everybody. Okay, so what this is actually saying is that if we have a Spanish word that begins with G, but after the letter G, it has the vowels A, O, or U after the letter G, then it's going to sound like how we pronounce it in English. Get, go, gigantic. That's a hard G. So that's not a soft G now, is it? Now below, you'll see some example. Gato, gordo, guitarra, guerra, guerra. Guerra means war, fighting, war. Guerra. Guitarra means guitar. Gordo means fat. Gordito, gordita. These are informal ways of referring to someone who's fat, whether they're male or female. So if it's male, gordito, female, gordita. Gato, you're referring to a cat, an animal. Los animales, the animals, right? Okay, continuemos. Let's continue. So then we have a soft G, which that pronunciation is the actual name of the letter G in Spanish. He. So the soft G sounds like an English H in, for example, in the letter house. House. So this happens if after the letter G, we have the letters E or I. For example, the Spanish word gente. In this word, after G, we have the letter E. So you can't pronounce the letter G as a hard G. You can't say gente or gente. You have to give it a soft pronunciation, which is he, gente. Now, this one had me making mistakes many times. Let's see if I can get something here. Okay, just a moment, everybody. Okay, so this second word had me confused for years. I thought this was gigante, but based on the example, that pronunciation is wrong. It's gigante because it's a soft G. If the vowels E or I comes after the letter G, then you have to pronounce it soft. Gente, which means people, and gigante, which means giant. Gigante. Okay, next we have more rules and regulations concerning the letter G. So there's a special case for GU before E or I. So Spanish uses GU to keep the hard G before E or I. If there's no umlaut, remember when I was talking about umlaut? Umlaut is a particular symbol. It's the two dots that you would find over letters. That's really for the German language. But they're saying that if there's no umlaut over the U, then the U is silent. If there is an umlaut, I think it's diaresis. If there is an umlaut, meaning the letter U or any other letters have the two dots above, then you pronounce the U. So this is what we call an exception. So if it has the two dots above, also known as an umlaut, you pronounce the U. But if it doesn't, the U is silent. And this is because the letter U in Spanish is actually silent. Okay? Let's look at the examples. Guitarra. Guitarra does not have the umlauts above. That's the two dots, the colons. They don't have the umlauts above. So you won't be pronouncing guitarra. you would say guitarra. So it's like you're ignoring the letter U because it does not have the umlaut above. Guitarra, you're actually pronouncing it as if it's Gitarra. Guitarra. In bracket, it says, or parentheses, is that what you call it? The U is silent and it keeps the hard G. Guitarra. Guerrero. 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 Which means warrior. Right? The U is also silent because there's no umlauts or dots above the U. Sin embargo, however, tenemos una otra palabra, pingüino. Pingüino. So, because it has the umlauts above the letter U, this is pronounced as pingüino. Pingüino. U pronounced because of the umlaut. Okay. And I think this is the last section for the letter G. So what you're learning are the different rules and regulations when it comes to the letters, pronunciations, how we deal with vowels and consonants. See? ¿Entiendes? Understand? ¿Entienden todos? Understand everyone? Okay. So D, letra D, softening between vowels. Lenition. This is what you call a lenition. In casual or fluent speech, a hard G between vowels often softens into a softer G, almost fricative G, similar to the English sound in ghost, but weaker, sometimes like the Spanish soft D. Example, amigo, amigo. So what are they saying? They're saying that there are exceptions to the rule. In the previous slide, you just learned that if the vowel A, O, U comes after the letter G, it's going to have a hard G. For example, gato, gordo, guitarra, guerra, etc. Right? But look at this. Over here, it's saying, let me zoom in. It's saying that if the letter G is between two vowels, then it's going to have a soft G. Even if there's a vowel, the vowel O comes after the letter G. So the word amigo, un momento clase, la palabra amigo, esto, es amigo, amigo, not amigo. Pero I think some persons who do speak native Spanish may actually say amigo, but it's really amigo. También puedes escuchar la diferencia. Mi sonido it's like I sound native now, because even when you hear that pronunciation, you can say, hold on, this sounds more native than amigo. Amigo just sounds like an English person trying to speak Spanish, but it's two different things, right? So these are the secrets, people. I'm giving you something. Come on. These are the secrets to becoming a fluent, native-like, because you can't be 100% native-like Spanish speaker. Why? Because you built on Not just the basics, but the in-depth basics. So, let's continue. Let's go. Un momento. Okay. Pronunciation rule. Regla de pronunciación otra vez. Again, otra vez. The word otra vez, O-T-R-A-V-E-S, means again. So, comparison with English. The English G is less predictable. Think go versus giant versus enough. Spanish is more consistent. What did I just say? I just said that if you think about those three words, they have different sounds. In English, it's less predictable, meaning it's harder. It's harder to understand how should I pronounce the letter G in this English word or that English word. In Spanish, because of the rule, it's more easier to understand how to pronounce these words. Even though in the immediate stage of learning the rules, you would think that it's a lot to learn, but it's not. Overall, Spanish is easier to learn than English. A lot of people, or maybe a few, can differ. It's debatable, but it's my opinion. It's easier to learn, okay? English has too many rules and regulations. Jamaica, too many rules and regulations, which is why we as Jamaicans developed Patois, which is simply a sub-language. Well, I wouldn't say a sub-language, but it's a separate language in relation to English with our own vernacular, our own rules and regulations that makes it easier for us to communicate to others people, okay? So let's continue. So we have some examples. G-A, G-O, G-U, hard G. Because once it has the A, O, or U, it's a G sound. G-E or G-I, it has an H sound. He, he. Ga, go, gu. G-U plus E or I has a hard G, silent U. Pero, but, sin embargo, however, G umlaut U, because that's the name of the U, it's called an umlaut U, plus EI is a hard G, but you pronounce the U because the U has an umlaut above. Okay, we're a bit over the time. Artículos en español. Articles in Spanish. So, what is an article? An article is a small word placed between a noun to show gender, right? It's placed between a noun to show gender, whether it's masculine or feminine. It also shows the number, whether it's singular or plural, and definiteness, specific versus general, in both English and Spanish. Definite article. So these are examples of articles, or what we mean by articles. And I'm not talking about magazines or books or anything like that. Article refers to this. The words the, in Spanish, which are definite articles, is el. So if you're saying the man, you would say el hombre. If you're saying the woman, which is automatically feminine, you would say la mujer. Mujer, M-U-J-E-R. Remember, J is pronounced as an H. La mujer, the woman. La niña, the girl. El niño, the boy. You're also just realizing that when we're speaking about maybe nouns or pronouns, they tend to have a masculine form, which ends with an O, and a feminine form, which ends with an A. Niña, N-I-N-A, niña, the girl. Niño, N-I-N-O, the boy. Then we also have the words for los and las. So los tends to mean the plural form of more than one person. It's like you're saying they or those. More so they, right? Los hermanos, the brothers. Las niñas, the girls. Las mujeres, the women. Los coches, the cars, etc. So that's the definite article. Next, we also have what we call the indefinite article. That's where we have a or an, some. So a or an, depending on the context, means un, una. For example, an apple, una manzana, an apple. A ball, un bol. Un bol. Right? Depends. Unos ortógrafos, I think. Unas, that would be the feminine form again. So an article works like a signal. What does a signal do? It lets you indicate, it indicates something, it lets you see, it lets you become aware before we reach a particular point. So an article works like a signal that tells you what kind of noun is coming and how specific it is. Okay? Let that sink. Ok, finalmente. En esta sección tenemos conocerse y saludarse, meeting and greeting. Ok. Pero la palabra conocer means to know something, or to meet. It has a dual meaning. The verb conocer, el verbo conocer, the verb conocer means to know someone. Saber means to know something. Pero in the next few lessons, you will understand about the different verbs, adjectives, different phrases, and parts of speech we use in Spanish. But of course, you have to learn the basics. Okay? Let's go. So these are some basic meeting and greeting words, right? So we have hola, hello. ¿Cómo estás? How are you? Buenos días. Good morning. ¿Cómo te llamas? What's your name? Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. Gracias. Thank you. Buenas noches. Adios. But let's get a bit deeper. So, some persons might ask, why is it that you have buenos días with an O, but yet you also have buenas tardes with an A? So guess what? There's a rule in Spanish where when it is that you're referring to the afternoon, which of course is midday en la media, in the day at 12, once it's 12 or over, you change from the O to A. Es una otra regla otra vez. It's another rule again. So, buenas tardes, going into the night, you continue to use the A form. Buenas noches. In terms of the historical part, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that buenas tardes and buenas noches is giving the afternoon a feminine form, and it's also giving the night hour a feminine form. How do I know that? Because the day, arriba, above, la palabra arriba, the word above, when we're saying the day, like literally, if we say the day in Spanish is el día. You just learned that el is masculine. El día, the day. So automatically, you can't say buenas días. Now can you? No. Buenos, because the O is also masculine. Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches. That's the difference. So just keep in your head, use the O in the morning. Once it passes 12 or over into the night, use A. Tarde or tardes means afternoon. Noches means night. By the way, some Hispanic countries tends to leave off the S. So depending on where you are, some people will say buenas tardes, others will say buenas tarde, others will say buena tarde, buena noche. Depende. Depende en la comunidad, depende en el país, depende. So depending on the community, depending on the country, some will speak with a basic standard form of Spanish, others will have a more patois form or shortened form. Good? So, I had to teach you the basics because I'm about to say something that might sound contradicting, but it's not contradicting. So you just learned that when we're speaking about the day, we're speaking about the masculine part of the entire day, right? The first part of the day, which is up to 11:59, is masculine. The other part, from after 12, going straight down to the night hour, 11:59 p.m., is feminine. However, persons in Venezuela, Colombia, and I think maybe everybody, some people would say buenas. Now, buenas in and of itself is, or gives the idea of being feminine, and it is. But if you're saying a short form of buenos días, you will say buenas. Buenas literally means morning. Morning, buenas. So a lot of persons in Latin America would say buenas, or maybe even in España, buenas. But that's what do we call that? An exception. You just need to know that buenos is masculine, dia is masculine. The day, el día. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. But I want to use a short form. I'm going to say to you, to test you, I'm going to say buenas. Buenas, but you're going to be confused because you're saying, how is it that he's saying buenas? Where's the dia? Where's the tarde? Where's the noche? Which one is he talking about? And he can't be talking about the morning because I just learned that you only use buenas if we're talking about the afternoon and night. So which is it? Well, buenas in this exception means morning. Let it sink. To be very honest with you, when it comes to language learning, it's impossible to not make mistakes. You will make mistakes, but the mistakes or the negative feeling of making the mistakes is what will cause you to become sharper at what you're practicing. And this is not just for language learning, it's almost everything. But someone would debate, and I will agree with them, that there are some practices, like the medical fraternity or medical practice, where you can't make certain mistakes. You have to be on point. And there are those circumstances, but the majority of circumstances is true. You will make mistakes in everything you do, but that is what will make you get better at what you're practicing, at what you're doing. That's what mistakes are for. It's to learn. It should not be shameful. The shame comes in when you're not learning what you should be learning. The shame is when you're not learning from the mistakes. The shame is when you're not willing to say that I was wrong or whatever the case is. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's a part of life. Es un parte de tu vida. It's a part of your life, right? Okay, so get that shame out the system and have a different perspective of what it means to make a mistake. So let's go. So in the next section, everybody, we're going to be looking at conversation. Now, some people would be saying, but Dave, why would you have a conversation in this section if there's no one in the comments to, well, not comments, but why is it that you're having this conversation, but there's no one invited as a guest speaker? It's because that I don't want to put anyone under the pressure. And I just want the viewers at large to be comfortable with what I'm doing and to be comfortable with me as an individual so that you'd be more confident. You would automatically make less mistakes. It's not that you're not going to make any, but there's no scolding here. There's no negativity here. You make a mistake, allow the teacher to correct, or allow yourself to correct yourself. You know, it's all good. So for now, I'm keeping it this way. Another reason why is because I noticed that if I go to guest mode, it will somehow remove the presentation, and then you'll have nothing to read from. So maybe what I can try to do is to have another camera set up so that even if the presentation gets removed, I will have the camera set up specifically to point to my whiteboard. So I have a whiteboard where I can manually write everything, and then we'll be able to have that one-on-one conversation and practice, okay? So let's continue. Okay, so greetings in Spanish, right? So Carla says, let me zoom in. Okay, en esta sección, okay, let me go full screen. Okay. Todos en esta sección tenemos una conversación entre Carla y Miguel, ¿sí? So in this section we have a simple conversation between Carla and Miguel. La conversación o el tipo de conversación es conocerse o saludarse, meet and greet, okay? So, let's continue. Hola, buenos días. Hola, buenos días, ¿cómo estás? Estoy bien, gracias. ¿Y tú? Muy bien, gracias. ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? Me llamo Miguel. ¿Y tú? Me llamo Carla. Mucho gusto. Mucho gusto. Bueno, buenas tardes. Buenas tardes. Sí, ya es la tarde. Hasta luego. Buenas noches. Some persons will be wondering what is going on because we just said buenos días above, but all of a sudden we are at buenas tardes. So it's basically a shortened conversation. It's a shortened conversation to let you understand the basics of what they're saying, the basics of what the conversation would look like. Obviously, there's many things that would happen between the morning and the afternoon, but it's simply saying they just met in the morning, they're introducing each other in the morning, the day progresses, and then it's giving you an example of farewells, goodbyes. So that's what this is talking about, right? So he says, let me do the translation. So she says, hola, buenos días. Hello, good morning. Hola, buenos días. ¿Cómo estás? Hi, good morning. How are you? Estoy bien, gracias. I'm well, thank you. ¿Y tú? ¿Y tú? And you, because tú means you, and I already went through what why means. It means and you. Muy bien, gracias. I'm very well, thank you. ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? What's your name? Me llamo Miguel. ¿Y tú? My name is Miguel. And you? Me llamo Carla. Mucho gusto. My name is Carla. Nice to meet you. Mucho gusto. ¿Sí? Luego, mucho gusto también. Nice to meet you too. Bueno, buenas tardes. So this is the last part of the conversation, but obviously in the later part of the day, the afternoon. So Carla says, good. Good afternoon. Miguel says, sí, ya es la tarde. So he's saying, yes, it's already the afternoon. So he's expressing to say, oh my God, it's the afternoon. Okay, later. Good night. So, sí, ya es la tarde. The word ya means already. Sí, ya es la tarde. Hasta luego. See you later. Buenas noches. And if I scroll above, it will show you the translation of what was being conversed. Feel free to take screenshots whenever I'm having these lives. Screenshots in terms of, the notes. So let's continue. Ok. En esta sección tenemos una diferente conversación. It's much more advanced, right? Much more advanced, mucho más avanzado. All right, so let's begin. Hola, Miguel. Hola, Miguel. Buenas. Can someone in the chat write what does buenas mean? Buenas. Entiendo, profe. Very good. Very good. Stacy's paying attention. Thank you, Stacy. So buenas means good morning. So Miguel continues to say, hola Carla, buen día. ¿Cómo estás y tu familia? ¿Cómo estás? Everybody knows what ¿cómo estás means. What does ¿cómo estás mean? En el chat. Escribe en el chat. Write in the chat. ¿Cómo estás? No. ¿Cómo estás? How are you? How are you? Right? Hola Carla, buen día. ¿Cómo estás y tu familia? Hi Carla, good day. How are you and your family? Right? He estado bien. Y ellos han sido buenos. I've been good. He estado bien. I've been good. And the family also. Right? Más específicamente, I've been well and they've been good. Right? Oh, qué bien. Oh, nice. Oh, qué bien. Escuché que tu hijo no estaba muy bien el otro día. ¿Qué pasó y cómo está? So what he's saying is that's great news, Carla. I'm sorry, he's saying, oh, how nice. Qué bien. I heard that your son wasn't very well the other day. So this is why I'm saying that this portion is more advanced. But if you have the information like you do now, you'll be able to practice and maybe even research more onto it to build on your own skills, to increase your vocabulary and understanding, your comprehension, right? So he says, oh, how nice. I heard, escuché. The word escuché is the past tense form of hearing something. So he's saying, escuché, I heard. Escuché comes from the verb escuchar, which means to hear or to listen. Escuché que tu hijo, the word que has three meanings. The primary meaning is what? The word what, the question. The other meaning is how. Que bien, how great, how nice. The third meaning is that. T-H-A-T in English, that. Escuché que tu hijo. I heard that your son. The word tu means you, but tu also means your. Tu, with the accent, the acute accent over the U, means you. Tu, without the accent over the U, like this one means your. Hijo, tu hijo, your son. Estaba, was. Estaba en inglés, was. Escucha que tu hijo no estaba. Muy bien. I heard that your son was not, no estaba, was not. So in Spanish it's flipped, right? No estaba muy bien el otro día. Was not very well the other day. Otro, otra means other. El otro día, el otro día. We would say el otro día because la otra día would be incorrect. Because día is masculine or feminine. Someone in the chat. Is día masculine or feminine? Yo no entiendo, señor. Someone said, I don't understand, sir. Masculine, very good. People, that's Chat GPT right there. That's Chat GPT. Okay. I'm joking. Es divertido. Divertido means fun or funny. It means laughable, right? Laughable. Or having fun. Divertido. Okay, where was I? ¿Qué fue eso? Right, so you just learned that que has about maybe 3 to 4 meanings. So it means how, what, and that. Right? Then he says, ¿qué pasó y cómo está? ¿Qué pasó y cómo está? What happened? ¿Qué pasó? And how is he? ¿Qué pasó y cómo está? How is he? ¿Cómo está? How is he? ¿Cómo estás? How are you? So with the S, it's you. Without the S, it's he or her. ¿Entienden todo? ¿Entiende todo? Understand everything? Understand everyone? Okay. I think I'm going to be finished in less than 5, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, Miguel says, que buena. Oh no, Carla. Sí, tuvo gripe el otro día. Pero, ya está mejor. Sí, tuvo gripe el otro día, pero ya está mejor. So she's saying yes. Sí, yes. Tuvo gripe el otro día. He had the flu. Flu. As in the virus, influenza, the flu. Gripe, flu. El otro día. Sí, tuvo gripe el otro día. One moment. Right? Sí, tuvo gripe el otro día. Pero ya está mejor. Okay, we had a bit of disturbance. Just doing a test. Can anyone hear me and see me? And can you see the presentation? Okay, gracias por todo. Gracias por todo. Thanks for everything. Otra vez. Again. Okay, so, sí, tuvo gripe el otro día, pero ya está mejor. Okay, so now we have Miguel saying, qué buena noticia, Qué buena noticia, Carla. Saluda a la familia de mi parte. Right? Qué buena. So when he says qué buena noticia, the word noticia means news. So he's saying, let me get this out of the way. So he's saying, that's great news. Remember when I said, oh, how nice. Qué buena. O qué bien, o qué bueno. How nice. Pero, but, that's great news es qué buena noticia. Qué buena noticia. That's great news, Carla. Qué buena noticia, Carla. Saluda a la familia de mi parte. Saluda. Saludar. Saluda comes from the word saludar, which means greetings. Saluda a la familia. Remember I said the letter A in Spanish is also a word in Spanish. A means to. So he's saying greetings to the family, a la familia, to the family, de mi parte. Qué buena noticia, Carla. Saluda a la familia de mi parte. ¿Sí? Let's look at the definition. That's great news, Carla. Say hello. So say hello is like you're saying, send my greetings to the family or to your family for me. De mí. Some would say para mí or por mí. But in this case, you would say de mí, right? Carla says, gracias iré. Gracias iré. Thanks, I'll come. The word iré comes from the word or the verb ir. Ir is spelled I-R or I-R. Ir means to go somewhere, to move forward, to go. Right? Ir a la casa, to go to the house. Ir al club, to go to the club or el club. Right? So she says, thanks, I'll come. By the way, my daughter's birthday is next Saturday. My daughter's birthday is next Saturday. Por cierto, by the way, el cumpleaños de mi hija, the H is silent, so you don't say hija, it's hija. El cumpleaños de mi hija es el sábado de la semana que viene. Por cierto, by the way, the birthday of my daughter is Saturday next week or next Saturday. En la próxima semana. In the next week. Right? Then Miguel says, bueno, ahí estaremos. Ahí estaremos. ¿Cuántos años tendrá? Remember what I said about the accent over the A or any vowel? It makes the sound of the letter longer. So it's not tendrá, it's tendrá. It makes it longer. Okay? Gracias iré. Por cierto, el cumpleaños de mi hija es el sábado de la semana que viene. So the more you practice slowly, is the more you'll be able to build up the confidence to speak louder and faster. By the way, I still consider myself to be an intermediate speaker. Some people may consider me to be advanced. Some people would say, yes, David, you're an intermediate speaker. You're not native. Right? So then we have Carla. Carla says, oh no, lo siento. Oh no, I'm sorry. Lo siento. Disculpas. Discúlpame. Excúsame. Excuse me. My apologies. I'm sorry. Bueno. Un momento. Bueno. Ahí estaremos. ¿Cuántos años tendrá? So I was about to give the definition. So he's saying, well, we'll be there. The word ahí means there, as in over there. 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 Bueno, ahí estaremos. We will be. Estaremos. We will be. Ahí estaremos. We will be there. Por cierto, ¿cuántos años tendrá? I mean, I didn't have the word por cierto, but naturally that's what someone would say. He would have said, we will be there, but by the way. Pero, por cierto, but by the way, ¿cuántos años tendrá? How old will she be? Right here. How old will she be? ¿Cuántos años tendrá? How old will she be? Then she says 14 años. 14 years old. And at last, Miguel says, bueno, mi hijo cumplirá esa edad el mes que viene. Nos vemos pronto. So he says, well, bueno, well, mi hijo cumplirá, my son will be that age next month. Esa means that. Esa, eso, that. Que, la palabra que, is that as well. It also means that, but depending on the context of what you're saying, right? My son will be the same age next month. La palabra edad en inglés es age. The word edad means age. El mes que viene. El mes que viene. Right? El mes que viene. The next month. Nos vemos pronto. See you soon. Okay. Finally, we have the revision section. ¿Qué aprendimos hoy? What did you learn today? What did we learn today? ¿Qué aprendimos? We learned artículos en español, the articles, how to say the and in Spanish, feminine, masculine. We learned what it meant to be feminine and masculine in terms of speech, right? My problem is speaking, my brain knows Spanish, but my mouth freezes up. The freezing is because of confidence. It's a part of it is a lack of confidence. Another part of it is a lack of practice, practicing with someone like myself or someone else. Another part of it is not necessarily because of a lack of confidence, but you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. When you're comfortable with being uncomfortable, you will be able to make mistakes and not be ashamed. So a part of it is shame, how to deal with shame. A part of it has to do with just finding someone to practice. Maybe it's not a confidence or a shame issue, but it's literally just practice. And practicing with someone, because you can have the knowledge, as you've said, but you're having difficulty to express to someone. you're better expressing to yourself than it is to express with someone. And that's fine. That happens only because you're not practicing as often. And that also happens because you don't have anyone to practice with. So this is where this program comes in. As said before, I'm going to make some immediate changes where part of the lesson will be a presentation, another part will be focused on the board, and another part will be to invite you as a guest. And this is Miss Stacy, the TA. And nice to meet you, by the way. Por cierto, mucho gusto, Stacy. I have a student by the name of Stacy. She's from Costa Rica, and she's about 12 years old. So it's interesting. So I have two students, one who's Hispanic and one who's English. So that's interesting. Sí, mucho gusto. Okay. So just to run back, the name of this series is Spanish Mode, or More Español. This is one of 3 series I have. This is one of 3 series dedicated to teach you Spanish. Basic to advanced Spanish, or in the immediate stage, basic to intermediate, right? Then, just to do a proper revision, we went through the alphabet. We spoke about the different accents and pronunciations. We spoke about the vowels and consonants, los vocales y consonantes. We spoke about the different articles in Spanish. And last thing we did was looking at some phrases for meeting and greeting and farewell. And we also looked at a real live conversation between Carla and Miguel. Okay? So that is it for today. In terms of next week, I have a feeling that I'm going to have to go through the same thing again. But just to be sure, I'm going to be going through this new topic. So this is daily routines. So the name of the series is More Español. That will never change. But the overall topic, the overall focus would be daily routines. In Spanish, rutinas diarias. And looking at the agenda, objectives, or subtopics, where we'll be speaking about numbers from 1 to 1,000 and a million, maybe. We'll be looking at hours of the day, because naturally you need to know how to say the different numbers in Spanish before we move on to the hours of the day. After that, or during hours of the day, you will learn about the different parts of the day, different from the hours of the day. Then you have the questions, what time is it? Because you knew the hours of the day, the parts of the day, and numbers from 1 to a million or to 1,000, you will have some vocabulary background and understanding on how to express what time is it. Then we'll move on to days of the week, months of the year, seasons of the year, how to express the date in English, or let me correct myself, how to express the date in Spanish, cómo expresar la fecha en español. Luego tenemos las fiestas que celebramos, holidays we celebrate, y la última agenda o la última tema, rutinas diarias, daily routines. Because all of these things will build a sub-vocabulary and appreciation on how to express daily routines. Wake up in the morning, have a shower, brush your teeth, Wait half hour to an hour before you eat or drink after you brush your teeth. A lot of people don't know that. And moving on to other things, and then we would have another portion after on a different Sunday. Okay? So, thanks for choosing my live. Thanks for coming. My name is Teacher Dave. This is Teacher Dave's Bilingual Hub. It is a Jamaican brand. It is Brand Jamaica. Don't pay attention to my accent. This is not my natural accent. I'm a Jamaican born, living and working here in Jamaica. So let me speak to my people just for a minute. Those who might be from Canada, Latin America, or the UK. Let me just go ahead to speak to my Jamaican people for a minute. All right. Welcome everybody. So this is David. Yes, this is David. I'm repeating myself. Right. So the platform is really dedicated to teaching Spanish to, first and foremost, Jamaicans, and then it's also dedicated to teach foreigners of English. So persons from the US, Canada, anywhere in the world who does speak English. So you're also speaking about maybe South Africa, New Zealand, Australia. Anyone who sees this live and is interested to speak Spanish can go ahead. The truth is, I do have a Hispanic background. I do consider myself to be Hispanic, but I also consider myself to be mixed, or quote unquote a black person, according to societal categories, right, or categorization. So yes, I am a speaker of Spanish, but I cannot call myself native because I'm not born in a Hispanic country, right? But I do have family origins tied between West Africa, as most of us are from the Caribbean islands, especially Jamaica, West Africa, Germany. Yes, I speak extremely basic German. I'm not as advanced in the German language as I am in Spanish, but I do speak German. I speak a little Portuguese, and Spanish is my love language, right? AKA romance language. Right, so this is me. This is what I do. This is not my primary job. I teach English to Hispanic people across the globe, remotely here in Jamaica. So that's basically it. It's very nice to meet you, Stacy. Mucho gusto otra vez. Nice to meet you again. I hope to see you soon. I hope that you will all be interactive by sharing the live, liking the videos that I will be posting from this recorded live piece by piece. Feel free to share the videos and support. So I switched over again. So thanks everybody for joining my live. Thank you for the support, and I will see you soon. Thanks everybody. Okay, someone just asked a question. My apologies, everybody. This is now questions and answers session, right? So someone's asking me where in Jamaica. I cannot release that information. Just know that I am in the island. And by the time you've seen this message, I'm in England. I'm just kidding. So you're from Mandeville. Okay. Iri teacher. All right, bless up yourself, Stacy. Okay, I'm not. So Stacy seems to have been the only person. Oh, Blue Terrenia Travels. Blue Terrenia Travels. Nice to meet you, Blue Terrenia. I did see your comments. Thank you. Entiendo, profesor. Okay, so you can all let me know in the comments of my videos or in my inbox, just to let me know if this was really a success. You can let me know how real this was, if you had any positive or negative feelings, if I said or did anything that you thought was negative, positive, you know. So I'm open to your opinions. Opinions. Opiniones, right? So thanks for coming in. I'm going to. Okay, you're very welcome and thank you. I'm going to practice speaking more. Okay, thank you. All right, so we had about 1,119 likes. Thank you very much. Shout out to you. We had about 2 new followers. Thank you for following me. I'm actually reading out the data. That's the data and analysis that's coming from the live. We have about 2 new followers. We had about 202 views and about real-time viewer counts. I think this is referring to persons who were watching for a while. I'm not sure. So we have about, I'm going to speak more, okay. 202 views. 0 gifters. Well, it's the first time. You don't know me and I don't know you, so that's understandable. But please feel free to send your gifts. It helps. It helps. I'd love to tell you guys what I invested just to have this thing going, but I'm living in Jamaica, right? Or anywhere for that matter. It doesn't really matter, but I've invested a lot. Okay, so thanks for joining in, everyone. People, big up on yourself, and I will see you next week, Sunday. You can expect to receive video posts, portions of this recorded live. And at the looks of it, this was 3 hours long. Wow. And yet I said I was going to do this in an hour, right? But like I also said, when you're learning anything for the first time, it's the basics of what you're learning will be more than the advanced topics. That's how it is for everything. So thank you for choosing me. Thank you for your support and have a good night. Bye, everybody.